The CD is rescued, a meaningful theme for the Millermon family, as we will hear. Ginger is a recording artist, now author, speaker. Ginger, come on in here. And I can't wait to, I don't know how we're going to tell this story. I mean it when I say I was emotionally exhausted by the end of this. And I don't know how many times I held my breath because I didn't get it. Fortunately, I didn't get the end right in my mind. Yeah. So as I was reading it, I was just waiting for disaster. I'm normally a very hopeful person. What I want to say is, Grace thus far is way too tame a title for the drama in these pages. I don't mean to be critical, but really, you are some kind of overcomer, you and your husband.
God's been very good. Definitely can't do it on our own.
Take us back to summer '96. Young married couple, your husband a youth pastor. You had one little girl already.
We did. Yep, our daughter Mackenzie was about 18 months old. She was a year old when we found out we were expecting our second baby. So wow, that was really quick. We're going to have, you know, a couple kids really close together here. Very excited. And the summer of 1996, my husband was a youth pastor, and we took a group of teenagers up into the mountains on a little spiritual retreat. And I always joke now, I was about 28, 29 weeks in the pregnancy, and I say, if there would ever be a reason for a woman to go into preterm labor, it would be taking about 12 teenagers up into the mountains in the middle of nowhere.
For a good climb.
Yes, for a good climb. We had all kinds of excitement over that couple of days there, and I started to have some preterm labor, but I'd had that with Mackenzie, so I wasn't overly concerned. I just thought, oh, I'm going to have to go on bed rest again. And so as soon as I got home, I went in to see my doctor and found out that I was already progressing into labor and our baby was footling breech. And so he sent me to the hospital right away for a sonogram.
Which means
baby was upside down. Breech. Right. Yeah, baby should have been head down by that point and wasn't, and so that was definitely, yeah, baby was head first, and we didn't know what we were having yet, and so we were just waiting to see. Well, the doctor sent me to the hospital for a sonogram that day, and in the meantime of all this excitement, Joel had gone to counsel at a camp. We did a lot of that, so I was by myself going to see the doctor, going to the technician to get a sonogram, first sonogram.
Ultrasound.
Ultrasound. Yep. I was very excited, and I had promised Joel that I would not ask what the baby was without him. It was killing me. I wanted to know really badly.
Boy or girl.
So I'm laying there and I'm trying to see the screen because I thought, even though I'm not going to ask, maybe I'll just see something. And so I remember laying there trying to see the screen, and the technician kept moving the screen so I couldn't see it. And she was very quiet and very sober throughout the sonogram.
We should point out that this was your first sonogram.
This is the first one.
You hadn't had one.
Hadn't had one yet. And so I'm asking all kinds of questions, you know, can you tell what it is? Don't tell me, but can you tell? Because I thought she could know and maybe she'd drop a hint. And so she didn't say too much throughout this, and finally she said, is this your first sonogram? And I said, yeah, it's my first one. And pretty soon she asked me again, and I repeated, it's my first sonogram. She asked me at least 3 or 4 times, and I finally kind of looked at her and I thought, well, she's maybe in her mid-30s, which seemed kind of old to me at the time, not as much anymore. But I thought, she knows something that I don't know about this baby. And so I got a little concerned and I said, is the baby okay? And she gave me a funny look and she said, oh, the baby's fine. And I thought, well, what does that mean? So I kind of joked with her, just thought I'd get a laugh, and I said, there's just one in there, right? And I will never forget the look on her face. She kind of had this grimace and she said, honey, I am not supposed to tell you this, but there's definitely more than one in there.
Well,
exactly. So my sense of humor was out the window. You know, nothing was funny anymore. I sat up on the table and I just remember it like yesterday. I grabbed that lady by the arm and I shook her. She probably still remembers me, crazy pregnant lady. And I just kind of grabbed her and I said, that's a joke, right? And she finally turned the little screen toward me and she pointed and she said, this is baby A and this is baby B. And I could see 2 hearts beating right there. And so I thought about it for a second and I sat up and I asked her one more question. I said, there's just 2, right? She wasn't
no
real
more
forthcoming, right? And she scared me to death. She said, I can't tell you how many are in there. So I thought we were having a litter, 10, 12, you know, going to be on the front of some magazine. And so I waited in suspense for 3 or 4 minutes and she finally said, okay, I can see everything. There's 2. And then she told me they were both boys, which was really overwhelming to me. I don't know why, but I knew how to deal with a girl. And so 2 boys were coming, and somebody brought me a phone. I was able to call Joel. He was thrilled. He thought it was the greatest thing he'd ever heard. And they rushed me to another hospital about 70 miles from our home, and Joel met me there, and that's really when the excitement began.
And am I right You only had 4 days
4 days.
to adjust to this new news, and
Yeah.
those boys were here.
That's right. And I was in ICU on bed rest, you know, medicated, so I really couldn't do anything. And they were just trying to hold off long enough to give me, you know, the medications the boys needed for their lungs. And we held off for 4 days. And on August 6th, they were born, emergency cesarean. And they were Brennan and Jarrett, and 2 pounds, 14 ounces apiece. Tiny, tiny little guys.
And identical.
They appeared to be identical.
When they were born.
When they were
I mean,
born.
They are
looked,
identical twins.
Yeah,
but-
they looked exactly alike, same length. And I just remember being so worried about, I'm going to get them mixed up. You know, I'm going to name them and then I'm going to switch them up, like it would have mattered. But things moms worry about. And that wasn't a concern at all. After, right away, pretty much after the first few hours, we realized that Jarrett was not as healthy as Brennan.
These babies would end up miles apart, and Mom and Dad separated with them. Tell us what happened.